All right, the camera got a little hot, so we had to take a break. But we have recorded Minnie Mouse on our form for immediate spin. Next, we have Buzz Lightyear for his antibody screen, and I'm taking all of the cells off, and you can see it is a nice smooth button. There's 1 and 2, so we're going to record this under Mr. Lightyear, screen cell 1 and screen cell 2, both negative, at immediate spin only. We're definitely not done. And next we're looking at Slumpy Dog, and we'll shake him off, shake the cells off, and you'll see those are nice and smooth as well. 1 and 2. Come down here, we have Slumpy Dog, screen cell 1 and screen cell 2 at immediate spin. So now the next thing we have to do for our antibody screens, because they have to incubate because we're taking them to AHG, is we need to add the enhancement that our hospital uses. And this hospital uses Gamma Enhance, which is a low ionic strength solution to overcome the zeta potential between the red cells when we are trying to encourage them to clump if they have antibody present. And you know, you can review how the zeta potential works on your own. So we're going to put 2 drops of enhancement medium or LIS into each of the tubes for our antibody screens. 2 drops in each, mix them up, and then they're going to go into our incubator, which is back here. And I'll pull that forward for you so you can see it. We have a nice heat block that the tubes are in, and you set a timer for 15 minutes. This is a 3-channel timer. It has channels 1, 2, and 3. Right now it's on channel 1. See where the C is? That's channel 2. That's channel 3. So on channel 1 we hit M for 15 minutes, and then you hit the 1 again, and it starts the countdown. 15 minutes later, we'll do the next step for the antibody screens. So now coming back to our front and back types. We're going to spin these down. The centrifuge holds 12 at a time, and we've got 5 tubes per patient, and you can see because it's been sitting, because my phone had to cool off, we've already got some agglutination happening. But we're going to go ahead and spin. And we'll spin 2 at a time because we've only got 12 spots. And then as they come out, we will record them on our sheet, and we'll record A, anti-B, the back type here, and we'll record D here for each patient. And we're starting with mouse, anti-A, anti-B, and you can see it's blue and yellow. And we got 4+ in the anti-A. And the anti-B is negative. So here's Minnie Mouse. We'll write 4+ and 0. It's a good thing. It matches yesterday. And then throw our tubes into the trash. Here's mouse, anti-D, and we got a strong 3+ there. So under the RH typing, we're going to put a 3+. And it doesn't matter that the strength is different today. It is a new specimen, so it could be different, but it's still RH positive. So that's what is the important thing. And now we have mouse, A1 and B cells in the back type. And you want to make sure you completely resuspend that button. And that's nice and smooth, negative. And today we have a 4+. So something's happened to her, that she's getting stronger here. So then we have A1 cells and B cells, which is a 4+ today. And when we interpret her, A antigen present, anti-B present means it's a type A. RH or anti-D antigen present, D antigen present, I'll say it right at some point, means this is RH positive. All right, next. These are Mr. Lightyear's anti-A and anti-B. And you'll see his anti-A is a nice negative, and anti-B is positive. So we're going to come here, we'll find Mr. Lightyear. His anti-A is negative, his anti-B is a 4+. Here's Mr. Lightyear's anti-D. And it is positive as well. That's probably between a 2 and 3, but we'll call it a 2. So we'll come here to Mr. Lightyear, find where the anti-D reagent is, and we'll call it a 2+. And here's Mr. Lightyear's A1 and B cells, back type. And it looks like it's matching, right? A negative in the B cells, and a 4+ in the A1 cells. So again, we'll come find Mr. Lightyear for his serum with A1 cells is a 4+, and serum with B cells is negative. So we have B antigen present, we have A1 antibody present, which means this is a B. We have D antigen present, which means this is an RH positive person. So now we're going to spin the next group. And you always want to mix them up before you spin them, just to make sure that everything's in contact with everything that it needs to. "15 seconds. Waiting for the beep. And next, we have the tubes for Slumpy Dog, anti-A, anti-B. We've got 4+ in the A, and we have nothing in the B. So here's Slumpy Dog, 4+ 0. Now let's do the back type. Slumpy Dog, A1B, the A1 cells are negative, and the B is weak, but it's there. That's probably a 1+. So, Mr. Dog, serum with A1 cells is negative, serum with B cells is 1+. which means since A antigen is present and B antibody is present, this is a B. And we don't have anything showing up that shouldn't. So now here's Mr. Dog's anti-D. And that is probably a 3+. So we'll come here, 3+, and he's Rh positive. And last but not least is Mr. Tube, anti-A and anti-B. We didn't get any O's. That's unusual. So we have Mr. Tube, 4 + 0. There's his back type, A1 and B. He's hemolyzed. And if this was an antibody screen, that hemolysis could indicate that there's a positive reaction happening there due to complement. And that's probably a 1+. So A1 is negative, and a 1+ in the back type. And again, this is an A. Oh, did you catch my mistake? This is not an A, or a B, this is an A. So here's how you correct that. One line through it. You put the correct one, and you initial, and you date 4/3/20. You do not want to obliterate what was there before. The FDA and CAP want to see what you had written before so that they know what happened. So that is how you make your corrections. And we have the anti-D for fill the tube, and it is a 3+. There's some little granules in there. So we'll call this a 3+ for Mr. Tube, and he's Rh positive as well. So fortunately for us, we don't have to do any week D testing, so we'll get to visit that in a separate video. We still have 5 minutes on our incubations. And if we were cross-matching, then at this point we would go, based on our blood types, we would go find units that were compatible with those blood types. And since we're not going to be doing any more testing of the red cells, we're going to get, we're going to get rid of these. So put your glass in the sharps container, put your pipettes in the regular biohazard. It's a cardboard box that we will close up when we're done. And do not throw away the plasma, because you may need that to do an antibody identification or something like that at some point. So, all right, we're going to pretend that our time is up, and we'll just stop the timer. And the next step you need to do, these have incubated at 37 degrees for 15 minutes. You're going to spin them again, because you need to document a reading at 37 degrees to see if the antibody reacts at 37 degrees or not. And if you don't spin it down, you won't know. So now we're going to go back to where we documented our antibody screens under the antibody detection. Screen cells 1 and 2. We have a spot for 37. So we're going to record our results. Screen cell 1 here, screen cell 2 here. Okay, first we're reading mouse, and we've got 1 and 2. And again, if you need the magnifier, the mirror, go for it. If not, you can read up against a white background. And there are no clumps here. They're both smooth, so we're going to mark both of these for Minnie Mouse today at 37 as negative, and put them in our rack until we're ready for the next step. And here's Mr. Lightyear, 1 and 2. Shake him up. And you'll see they're both negative as well. So here's Mr. Lightyear, negative, negative. It's very important that you document your reactions as you go. And next we have Slumpy Dog, 1 and 2. And those are both negative as well. So we find Slumpy Dog, and we document negative, negative. So now the next step is to wash everything, because now that we've incubated, we have incubated the patient plasma with the reagent red cells, so that any antibodies that are there, if there are any present that match the antigens that are on those reagent red cells, then we can, they should be stuck to the red cells. But so that we get reliable testing, we want to wash away all the unbound antibody that's still in the liquid portion here and just leave the red cells behind. So we're going to use blood bank saline, and we're washing manually, although there are cell washers available where you can just stick them in there and it'll automatically add the saline and wash them for you 4 times. It decants them, spins them down, and then at the very end, after 4 washes, you have a very nice cell button in the bottom of each tube that you can then add your AHG reagent to and spin that down and get your readings. And you see we've got no cell button on the bottom, everything looks good. We're going to put them in the spin. And remember, spinning is 60 seconds on high when you're washing. And that's what it looks like after you've spun it down for 1 wash. And remember, we're decanting into our biohazard bucket that has absorbent material in the bottom of it. And you're just going to turn it upside down, give it a little shake, and then you're going to resuspend in the residual fluid before you add the next wash, because you want to get everything washed out that you can. So you don't want the cells to be clumped together, because then they won't be completely washed off. And shake, shake, shake. And last couple. All right, we're ready for the next wash. So you do that 2 more times for a total of 3 hand washes, and then you are going to decant to a dry button. So I'm going to pause until we get to that point. All right, we are done with our final wash. So I'm going to show you what you need to do at the end. We've got nice clear tubes with a nice cell button. So you turn them upside down and you keep them upside down after you decant. So we're decanting, shaking, keep them upside down, and come here and touch so that you get that last little drop of fluid off. And then you have a nice dry cell button that we're going to work with. It really does work. I know it's nerve-wracking the first time you do it, but it's all right. Upside down, keep them upside down, come them over and blot. Because you want a dry cell button so that you don't dilute out your AHG reagent. Upside down, keep them upside down, and blot. Okay. So now we've got dry cell button, and we've got everyone's together. So now the next step, after you have washed all of the unbound specimen out, you're going to add the AHG reagent, and we are going to use the monospecific reagent that happens to be colored green so that we know that we added it. This contains anti-IgG only, and this anti-IgG will bind to the antibodies, if there are any, that are bound to the red cells that remain in these tubes. This is an indirect antiglobulin test, remember. So we bind the antibodies first, and then we check and see if they're there by binding another antibody to the antibodies. Mix it up, make sure that you've got fresh stuff in your dropper, and then 2 drops into each tube. And remember, we've got 3 patients' screens going here, so 2 drops into each one, and then you resuspend gently until it's like that, and then you can put it in the centrifuge. Gently resuspend. You've been watching me shake a lot of tubes today. And when you do antibody panels this way, that's a lot of work. You get tired of doing them that way. And when I show you how the MTS gel works, you are going to be amazed. So, centrifuge for 15 seconds on high, and then we will read them. Okay. Almost. There we go. Okay, so now we have Minnie Mouses 1 and 2, and we're going to shake them up and see what we have. Now at this stage, we don't read them microscopically, but it's very helpful to have the mirror at this point, because if you have a weak reaction, you want to try and identify it. So, if you look in the mirror, you can see that we have nice, smooth reactions happening. So these are both negative. So we'll record our readings for Minnie Mouse, and now we are at the AHG phase. Negative for 1, negative for 2. Don't throw these away yet. You're not finished.